The Shadow Library of Alexandria, the hidden vault beneath the ashes. The sea whispered against the ruins of Alexandria as it had for centuries, carrying with it the weight of forgotten empires and the ashes of libraries lost to flame. Beneath the glittering Mediterranean waves lay fragments of marble columns, toppled statues, and broken stone streets that had once led to the most celebrated temple of knowledge in the ancient world, the Library of Alexandria. To most, the ruins were a graveyard of history. But to Dr. Helena Marlowe, they were the first page of a story the world had never read. Helena was a woman consumed by obsession. Her colleagues often joked that her veins carried more ink than blood, that her heart beat in rhythm with the turning of parchment. She had spent her life tracing fragments of lost manuscripts, reconstructing scrolls that had survived the centuries only in ashes and whispers. But Alexandria was her holy grail. The destruction of the Great Library was, to her, not a single catastrophe, but a wound that humanity never recovered from, a wound that still bled in the silence of all the questions we could never answer. It was near midnight when she stood on the shoreline, staring at the glimmer of Karim Haddad's lantern bobbing on the waves. Karim was a diver, his skin tanned by years under the Mediterranean sun, his eyes sharp as a hawk's even beneath the water. He had grown up with stories of Alexandria's drowned ruins, tales his grandfather told him of tunnels where fishermen dared not swim, places where shadows moved as though alive, and currents pulled with unnatural hunger. To most, those were just myths. To Karim, they were warnings. But warnings did not pay well, and Helena's funding promised him more than a lifetime of fishing ever could. The night was unusually still. No waves, no gulls crying overhead, no wind to disturb the lanterna's flame. It was as though the sea itself held its breath. Helena adjusted the strap of her satchel, double-checked the waterproof casing of her notes, and waded into the water beside Karim's small boat. Are you re-sure about this? Karim asked, his voice low. Helena's eyes gleamed in the lantern light. The new excavation near the harbor revealed an entryway. The inscriptions match late Ptolemaic design. Ida's been sealed since the Roman fires. If there's even a chance she trailed off, her voice trembling with the excitement of discovery. Karim sighed, scanning the horizon as if seeking approval from the dark waves. People who go looking for things buried this deep usually don't come back. Then tonight we change that story. Helena replied, with the conviction of someone who had already crossed the line between caution and destiny. They dove beneath the surface. The water was icy, numbing, but clear enough that the beam of their waterproof lamps cut swaths through the darkness. Shapes emerged from the gloom, broken pillars, shattered busts of forgotten gods, blocks of stone so massive they seemed to breathe with the weight of centuries. Fish scattered in quicksilver flashes as they passed. Karim led the way, guiding Helena along a ridge that dropped into a deep ravine where the seabed sloped into darkness. At the far end, partially covered by coral and sediment, was what she had come for, a rectangular stone entrance, its lintel carved with symbols half worn by time. Helena swam closer, brushing away the silt with her gloves. The carvings revealed themselves slowly, a procession of priests carrying scrolls bound in chains, eyes averted, their faces twisted in fear. Above them, larger than all the others, a figure loomed, a pharaoh-like form with a crown of black flames, holding a scroll that dripped with shadows. Her heart hammered in her chest. This was no ordinary tomb. No ordinary library. Karim tugged her arm. He pointed to the doorway, shaking his head. On the lintel, beneath the carvings, ran a line of Greek script. Helena's eyes widened as she translated the words, her mind running through decades of linguistic training. Here lies the knowledge that devours. Guarded by shadows. Cursed be he who breaks the seal. The warning only deepened her hunger. She pressed forward, slipping through the narrow entrance into darkness. The tunnel was tight, suffocating, walls pressing in as they swam through. The air became colder, the water heavier, as though weighed down by something unseen. After several long minutes, the passage opened into an air pocket, a cavernous chamber above sea level, its walls glistening with mineral sheen. They surfaced, gasping, their lamps casting pale circles of light. The chamber smelled of old stone, stale and heavy. On the far side, rising from the cavern floor, stood a door of black basalt. Unlike the eroded carvings outside, this one was pristine, as though untouched by time. Its surface rippled faintly in the lamplight, like ink suspended in water. This is it, Helena whispered, her voice echoing against the stone. Her fingers traced the edges of the door, finding grooves worn into the surface. Grooves that formed symbols, not Egyptian, not Greek, but something alien, shifting when she tried to focus on them. Kareem shifted uneasily. Should leave it sealed. This doesn't feel right. But Helena's mind was already racing. This was the Shadow Library. She knew it. Every instinct screamed that beyond this door lay scrolls untouched by Historia's flame, knowledge that could rewrite everything. She set her satchel down, pulling out a bundle of tools, ignoring the way her hands trembled not with fear, but with anticipation. Together they forced the mechanism. With a grinding sound that seemed more like a groan of pain than stone, the door gave way. What lay beyond was not a library in the traditional sense. No shelves, no neat scroll racks. Instead, the chamber stretched into a cavern lined with alcoves, each alcove holding a single scroll, wrapped in blackened papyrus, bound in golden wire, and sealed with wax that seemed to bleed faintly into the stone beneath. The air itself felt thicker, heavier, pressing against their lungs. The shadows in the chamber did not match the light of their lamps. They stretched too far, curled unnaturally, as though resisting exposure. Helena stepped forward, eyes wide, her breath catching. Do you understand what this is? These arena lost texts of philosophy or science. These are forbidden. They locked them away. Kareem shivered, backing away toward the door. They locked them away for a reason. But Helena could not stop herself. Her hands reached for the nearest scroll, its wax seal cracked by time but still faintly warm, as though it had been touched only moments ago. She lifted it reverently, feeling its unnatural weight, heavier than papyrus had any right to be. And then she opened it. The ink inside was darker than any she had ever seen, black as obsidian, yet it shimmered faintly like liquid. The letters twisted across the page, refusing to hold still, dancing at the edges of her vision. As her eyes scanned the text, a low vibration hummed through the chamber. Kareem's lamp flickered. He cursed, shaking it, then froze. The shadows on the wall were moving. At first they thought it was the flicker of the light. But the shapes detached themselves, crawling like smoke across the stone. They stretched, reaching toward Helena, forming fingers, faces, mouths that opened in silent screams. Helena's lips parted, whispering words she did not know she knew. The ink on the scroll pulsed in time with her voice, glowing faintly, bleeding into her skin. The chamber grew colder, the air sharp, tasting of iron. Kareem lunged forward, trying to rip the scroll from her hands. Stop. Forgoda sake, stop reading. But Helena's eyes were no longer her own. They had gone black, reflecting the scroll's words. Around them, the shadows swelled, spilling from the walls like a tide. The last thing Kareem heard before the chamber erupted into darkness was Helena's voice, soft, trembling, filled with awe. Shadows remember. And the library came alive. Whispers of the ink. The cavern trembled as if some ancient heart had resumed its beating. Dust fell in fine streams from the ceiling, and the sound of stone grinding against stone echoed through the chamber. Kareem staggered backward, his lamp trembling in his hand, its light too feeble to push back the shadows that now writhed like living smoke. Helena stood transfixed, the scroll open in her hands, her lips moving in rhythm with words she could not possibly understand. Her voice was not her own. It was layered, as though a chorus of unseen tongues spoke through her, some low and guttural, others shrill, piercing, weaving together in a dissonant chant. Oelena. Kareem shouted, but his words seemed to vanish into the oppressive air, muffled before they reached her ears. He rushed forward, grabbing her wrist, shaking her. Her skin was icy, her veins darkened, pulsing with black ink that crawled beneath the surface like a parasite. The shadows recoiled from his touch at first, but then surged toward him, curling around his ankles like serpents. He kicked wildly, slashing at them with his diving knife, but each strike only dispersed them momentarily before they reformed, thicker, hungrier. The scroll in Helena's hands pulsed, its ink bleeding into her fingers. She gasped as if drowning, her eyes flickering between black and her natural green, caught in a battle within herself. For an instant, Karim saw his friend again, a euro, saw the human behind the darkness. A euro oelpa euro me a euro, she whispered, her voice breaking. Karim didn't euro t think. He snatched at the scroll, tearing it from her grip. The chamber erupted in a scream, a euro, not Helena euro s, not human, but something older, vast, and furious. The shadows surged in retaliation, slamming into him like a wave. He was thrown across the chamber, his back cracking against stone. His lamp shattered, plunging the cavern into near total darkness. Only the faint glow of the scroll remained. Helena staggered forward, her breath ragged, her eyes clearing for a moment. A euro okarima euro dona euro ta euro a euro, but it was too late. His hands trembled as he held the scroll, trying not to look at the writhing letters that clawed at the edges of his mind. His thoughts swam, words not his own slithering into his skull. Unsila euro release a euro remember. He realized with sudden horror that the scroll wasn't a euro t just words, a euro. It was alive, a prison made of ink and parchment, holding something that wanted freedom. And he had broken its slumber. The shadows swarmed toward him, forming into shapes now a euro, silhouettes of robed figures, their faces hidden, their hands skeletal, fingers outstretched as if demanding the return of what was theirs. Helena screamed, rushing toward him. But as she reached him, the figures turned their heads to her, and their voices, a euro, thousands of whispers overlapping, a euro, poured into the chamber. A euro, o daughter of Inca euro, chosen a euro, scribe of shadows, a euro. The words rooted themselves in Helena euro's chest. She dropped to her knees, clutching her temples as visions assaulted her. She saw the Library of Alexandria not in ruins, but Olivia euro, torches blazing, scrolls stacked in endless rows, scholars and priests walking its halls. But beneath it, she saw another library, a euro, this one darker, hidden, where priests carried scrolls bound in gold wire, whispering prayers of fear. The scrolls bled when touched. They screamed when burned. They whispered truths so terrible that even kings wept at their reading. And those who read too long became shadows themselves, bound forever to guard what should never be known. Helena snapped back to reality with a sob. The shadows pressed closer, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. Join use, a euro, read a euro, remember a euro. Karim dropped the scroll onto the ground, clutching his head as the voices invaded his skull. He could feel them pressing into his thoughts, searching for cracks, seeding doubt, urging him to surrender. He stumbled to his knees. A euro, o Elena, a euro, he gasped. A euro, o euro, we have to leave now. A euro, but Helena wasn't a euro t listening. The shadows had surrounded her, curling around her body, lifting her to her feet like supplicants raising an idol. Her eyes glowed faintly, her lips trembling as though resisting speech. The scroll on the ground unrolled itself, its ink spreading across the floor like liquid tar, forming symbols that writhed and twisted. From the center of the spreading ink, a shape began to rise, euro, something massive, humanoid but distorted, its limbs elongated, its head crowned with jagged fire. Its form was incomplete, as though only half remembered, half born, but its presence filled the chamber with unbearable weight. Karim screamed, stumbling back. The figure, a euro's shadowed gaze fell on him, and for an instant, he felt the crushing despair of a man who has seen the end of the world. Helena euro's voice rose again, chanting words not her own, the chamber vibrating with her tone. The shadow figure leaned closer, its whisper crawling along the stone. A euro, unseal the vaults, a euro, the ink remembers, a euro, the flame forgets, a euro. Karim euro's survival instinct roared louder than the voices in his head. He grabbed Helena euro's satchel, searching frantically until he found what he needed, a euro, a magnesium flare. With shaking hands, he struck it to life. The chamber exploded in white brilliance. The shadows shrieked, recoiling violently, hissing as the light burned through them. The giant figure staggered, its form unraveling like smoke in a storm. The scroll on the ground writhed as if in pain, curling back into itself, its ink retreating. Helena collapsed to the floor, gasping, the shadows peeling away from her body. Karim grabbed her, pulling her up with all his strength. A euro, o move now. A euro. Together, half dragging, half running, they fled through the cavern, their only light the dying flare in Karim euro's hand. The shadows clawed after them, but the brilliance held them at bay just long enough for the two to plunge into the water and swim desperately back toward the tunnel. As they burst into the open sea, gasping for air, Helena clutched Karima-'s arm, her face pale, her eyes still haunted by the whispers. Oh they re not just scrolls, she whispered, her voice trembling. Oh they re prisons. Every scroll is a soul, trapped in ink. The library it wasna t destroyed. It was hidden. The Romans didna t burn ita they sealed it. Karima-'s blood ran cold. Above them, the night sky stretched endless and empty. The flare sputtered and died, plunging the sea into darkness once more. And deep below, the shadows waited, patient and eternal. The keeper of shadows, the Mediterranean dawn was gray and restless. Waves struck against the rusting hull of Karima-'s fishing boat, sending a cold mist into the air. Helena sat wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing, her damp hair clinging to her face. Karim busied himself with the engine, pretending not to watch Hera, but her silence was heavier than the sea itself. Neither had slept since the night in the cavern. The whispers still echoed in their skulls, faint as though carried on the wind. Ink remembers. Flame forgets. Karim broke the silence. O need to tell someone. A museum. The university. Anyani oino. Helena interrupted sharply. Her voice was brittle, cracking like dry papyrus. She turned, her eyes red but fierce. Oedo you understand what we ve touched. These arena t relics, Karim. They re weapons. If the wrong hands open tame she trailed off, shaking her head. Karim swallowed hard. Then what do we do? Just bury it again and pretend it doesna t exist. Helena's gaze shifted to the horizon, where the sun struggled to rise. O need answers. The scroll mentioned vaults. That means there are more hidden. Someone must know. That night, as the boat docked at a crumbling port town on the Egyptian coast, Helena insisted they head inland. Karim protested they needed rest, food, clarity but her resolve was unshakable. She was driven, as if a part of her still belonged to the scroll. They reached Cairo after sunset, its streets alive with neon and chaos. Helena led Karim through alleys and markets until they arrived at a dusty old bookshop wedged between a mosque and a tea house. The sign above the door was faded, but the carved symbol was unmistakable an open scroll encircled by serpents. Karim frowned. Ve been here before. Helena shook her head. Oino. Buta ve seen it. She hesitated. And the visions. Inside, the air was thick with incense and old parchment. Shelves bowed under the weight of manuscripts, maps, grimoires in languages Karim coldna t name. At the back sat an old man with cataract-clouded eyes, his fingers ink-stained, as though he been writing for centuries. He looked up without surprise. Eso. The shadows have chosen. Karim froze. Excuse me. But the Mana-'s gaze was fixed on Helena. He rose slowly, joints creaking, and bowed slightly. Daughter of ink. Keeper in waiting. Helena-'s face drained of color. Oino. I dona ta m nota the man raised a trembling hand, silencing her. The library has always demanded guardians. When Ptolemy built the great halls, the priests warned him knowledge is not power, it is hunger. The more you feed it, the more it consumes. He ignored them. And so, when the flames came, we sealed the shadow library not destroyed, sealed. For ink remembers what fire forgets. Karim stepped forward, anger boiling in his chest. Then why not destroy it properly? Burn it all. End this madness. The Mana-'s cloudy eyes turned to him, full of pity. You cannot burn a soul. Ink is blood, boy. Each scroll was written with sacrifice life bound into words. To destroy the scrolls is to release what they contain. Better to cage a serpent than to cut the cage open. Helena's voice trembled. And what about me? Why did they keep calling me chosen? The Mana-'s lips curved into a sad smile. Because you opened it. Because it recognized you. The library does not pick at random. You carry ink in your bloodline, scribes, priests, guardians. It has always waited for you. Before Karim could speak, the bell above the shop door jingled. 3 figures entered, robed in dark cloth, faces shadowed beneath hoods. The air grew colder instantly. The old man stiffened. O keepers, he whispered. The robed figures moved silently, their presence suffocating. One extended a pale, skeletal hand toward Helena. O think calls. You do not resist the library. Karim pulled her back, heart racing. Oshia s not going anywhere. The second figure tilted its head, a low hiss escaping its hood. You think choice matters. Ink binds. It writes you, as you write. It. Helena gripped Karim s arm, whispering frantically, o they re nota alive. I can feel it. They re shades, bound to guard the library forever. The old man nodded grimly. O they are the keepers. Once men, now vessels. Their purpose is eternal. The first keeper stepped closer, its voice like brittle parchment tearing. The library must be fed. Blood for ink for memory. Come, scribe. Helena's knees buckled as the whispers filled her skull again, stronger than before. Karim tightened his hold, dragging her toward the door. But the third keeper raised a hand, and the shelves erupted, scrolls bursting from their places, unraveling in midair like serpents of ink and papyrus. The words written on them writhed, twisting into black smoke that filled the shop. Karim slashed with his knife, but his blade passed uselessly through the smoke. The words clung to him, burning his skin like firebrands. Helena screamed, clutching her head. They rewriting use they re-trying to trap us. The old man slammed his staff onto the floor, chanting in Coptic. The scrolls writhed, recoiling slightly, but the keepers advanced, unstoppable. He turned to Helena, desperation in his face. Go. Seek the vaults beneath Alexandria. Find the Codex of Ash. It is the only ink that forgets. Before Karim could protest, the old man thrust a leather-bound book into Helena's hands. The pages within shimmered with faint gold, the writing shifting as though alive. The keepers shrieked, their voices filling the shop with unbearable force. The old man turned, arms outstretched, summoning all his strength to hold them back. Orun. Karim dragged Helena through the back door as the shop exploded in screams and smoke. They fled into the narrow alleys, the sound of pursuit echoing behind them. Helena clutched the book to her chest, her face pale, her voice trembling. Oath Codex of Ash he said it makes ink forget. Karim s breath came ragged. Than that s what we ll do. We ll end this. No more shadows. No more scrolls. But deep inside, Helena knew the truth. The library did not forget. The library only waited. And now, it was watching her. The Codex of Ash. The night sky over Alexandria was bruised with clouds, the moon a thin sickle behind shifting veils. The city bustled with tourists and neon lights, but beneath the streets, Helena and Karim moved through a world that smelled of dust, seawater, and time. The Codex of Ash pulsed faintly in Helena's arms, its golden letters crawling across the page like living fireflies. Every time she blinked, she felt the ink inside her veins respond, whispering promises of knowledge knowledge she was not sure her mind could survive. Karim kept his knife in hand as they descended into the ancient catacombs hidden beneath the modern Library of Alexandria. Othis is insane, he muttered, his voice echoing down the endless stone hall. Re-walking right into their nest. Helena whispered back, if the Codex can erase ink, s our only chance. The keepers won't stop until one of us becomes their prisoner. The walls grew closer, the carvings older. Torchlight flickered against reliefs of robed figures offering scrolls to jackal-headed gods. Some carvings showed men bleeding into bowls, their lifeblood turning into lines of text on papyrus. Helena's stomach churned. At last they reached an iron gate, corroded but still sealed tight with chains. Etched across it were words Helena recognized instantly: because she had seen them in her visions. Memory is fire. Ink is blood. Those who enter, were written. The gate swung open at her touch. Beyond lay a colossal chamber, A vault carved into the earth itself, with tiered shelves stretching higher than any cathedral. Scrolls and tomes glowed faintly, as if breathing. The air was heavy with whispers, thousands of voices overlapping, chanting, pleading, laughing, weeping. Kareem swore under his breath. This is it. The Shadow Library. Helena staggered, overwhelmed by the cacophony. The scroll she had opened days ago was nothing compared to this ocean of voices. Each one demanded attention, clawing at her mind. Her vision blurred with fragments wars, coronations, sacrifices, plagues. Every memory ever sealed in ink. Elena. Kareem gripped her shoulder, shaking her back to herself. Oath Codex news it. She looked down. The Codex of Ash shimmered, its letters rearranging themselves. A blank page spread open, its surface glowing with heat. But before she could act, the chamber darkened. The keepers stepped out of the shadow. Three robed figures, their movements like smoke, their hoods empty voids. Their voices hissed in unison. You cannot unwrite memory. The library is eternal. You are ink now, Helena. Kareem raised his knife, though he knew it was useless. Stay back. The keepers ignored him, extending their skeletal hands toward Helena. Take your place. Keeper of Shadows. Write eternity with us. Helena clutched the codex tighter. She could feel its hunger to not for knowledge, but for annihilation. The codex was ash, forgetfulness, the power to burn even memory itself. But wielding it came with a price. She could sense it in her bones. To erase the library, she would also erase part of herself. The whispers surged louder, swelling into a storm. The scrolls shivered, bursting from their shelves, unraveling midair. Words spiraled around her like black flames. Kareem cried out as the letters seared his skin. Helena dropped to her knees, pressing the codex to the stone floor. If I write with this it ends. Everything ends. The keepers voices thundered. Without memory, there is nothing. Without us, you are hollow. Choose, scribe become eternal, or burn. Kareem knelt beside her, gripping her hand. His voice broke. Elena, listen to me. You re stronger than they are. Stronger than this curse. Don't let them decide for you. If the cost is you don't do it. Tears burned her eyes. She had wanted knowledge, truth, to honor her father's work. But this this was no honor. This was chains. Her voice rang out, trembling but fierce. Choose forgetting. She slammed the codex open. Light erupted from its pages, blinding white, hot as fire. The words streaming through the chamber screamed as they were sucked into the codex, burning into nothing. The shelves crumbled, scrolls igniting into ash that fell like black snow. The keepers shrieked, their forms unraveling into smoke, clawing at the air as they dissolved into dust. Their final cry echoed, ink must remember before vanishing into silence. The vault shook violently, stones cracking, shelves collapsing. Kareem dragged Helena to her feet, pulling her toward the gate as the entire Shadow Library caved in. Behind them, the codex burned brighter and brighter, until at last it too dissolved into flame, leaving only darkness. When Helena awoke, she was lying on the shore. The sea crashed gently, the dawn just breaking. Kareem sat beside her, his arm wrapped in bloody bandages, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. S gone, he whispered. Old library. The keepers. All of it. You did it. Helena touched her temples. The whispers were gone. For the first time in days, her mind was her own. And yet there was emptiness too, a hollow place where something had been cut away. Memories of her father's voice were fainter now, blurred at the edges. Kareem noticed her distant look. You lost something, didn't you? She nodded. Slowly. Old codex took more than the library. It took pieces of me. Memories I can't get back. Kareem placed a hand on hers. Made that mercy. Some memories are too heavy to keep. Helena stared at the horizon, her heart heavy but strangely free. The Shadow Library was gone. But deep inside, she knew secrets never truly vanished. They only waited to be rediscovered. And when that day came, someone else would hear the whispers.